Well, there's a few aspects. One is obviously everything's better, more well done. The food's better, the training gear's better, the pitches are better, everything's more advanced, and more importantly, the players. A lot of the players at Liverpool were at the top of their game, not evolving players or players on the way down, which is what you got at Crewe. So all of a sudden, I was thrown into a set of circumstances where I'm not just only around really tremendous footballers with full of confidence and self-assurance. I'm actually around a lot of footballers who I admired and supported and went to watch, which is a really, really difficult dynamic to grasp. It's one of my first days at Liverpool. I actually be doing some fitness work, and I'd be doing some pitch runs, and I did them with John Barnes. Now, I can't really put into words that for me, because John Barnes was Kenny Dalglish was my first hero, and then it was John Barnes. And here I am at Melwood doing my fitness work and chatting away with a guy I idolised. And I actually think, looking back, it took me a while to feel worthy of being there, rather than a competition winner. You know, I had confidence in my ability, but I certainly don't think I was egotistical or arrogant enough to think I was anywhere near. I felt lesser than those guys. You know, even being in the dressing room, felt nervous. You know, what do you say, what don't you say? And so many of them were good guys, you know, really tried to help us young lads. And I suppose what helped me adapt was that I was very lucky coming into the club at a time when Carragher had just got in the team, Michael Owen, Davy Thompson, Stevie G was just starting to edge into a first-team squad and training. So we were all in a bit of a similar position. The only difference being is I'd come from that lower league club. So maybe I appreciated it more, but it definitely took me a while to feel worthy.
Yeah, I'll bet. And that first day, do you call him John or Barnesy? What Mr. Barnes?
Well, I obviously called him John at first, and then he was like, no, Digger, call me Digger. But I felt uncomfortable calling him Digger, I have to be honest. It was too familiar, you know. I just wanted to say thank you for even talking to me. But yeah, it's good memories.
So what's Anfield like then? A rocking Anfield as a player when you settle down over the years and you're settled into yourself and in your mid-20s. That must just be difficult to even verbalise when things are going well.
I think one huge advantage for me, and I think other lads feel this as well, is when you've grown up supporting the team and you've been there on the cop, or you've been a season ticket holder, you've been hundreds of games. It's not new. So although there's a different dynamic because you're a player on the pitch, that feeling is, I've had it before, but it was as a fan. And then you have to just channel that energy and that excitement into trying to put in a performance. But I certainly think growing up, going to the game helped my ability to be able to perform at Anfield. I saw a lot of players come in who took a while to adapt to Anfield. People who went on to, people like Steve Finn and Vladimir Smicer, that type of name, tremendous technically gifted players who'd been around, who played high-level football, but really struggled their first year or so to adapt to Anfield because of that atmosphere, that excitement the crowd creates there. So yeah, it's a magical place. It's I don't know if you've been to the game there or you're on a European night or whatever it is. It's people have their own love for their own affinity for their own clubs. I get that, and everyone's got their stories and their memories of going with a dad or their brother, whoever it may be. But that you'll never walk alone, even if you're not a Liverpool fan, on an evening where there's 50,000 in there. It's a special feeling, special feeling.
I remember even Roy Keane in his autobiography said it was a very football savvy crowd as well. They understood what they were watching in a very good way.
Yeah, that's been said about Liverpool supporters for a long time, and I actually think it's true. It's hard sometimes to be objective.
Sure.
When you're a Red, but I do find that the Liverpool supporters, unlike some of the others I played for, were a bit more understanding and got it a little bit more. But I suppose as intelligent football fans watch every team. It's a passionate city. It's steeped in tradition, and obviously one of the things that Liverpool supporters well, people of Liverpool, that includes Everton supporters, with the tragedies they've had. There's a togetherness there. And once you're part of the family, once you're in it, they'll back you. You know, you might get the odd game or the odd disgruntlement if you're not at it, but generally they're with you. Even when it's not going well, there's a lot of support and love around that club.
Your time there really just coincides with the Houllier era. You joined in 97, he's there in 1998 to 04. I think a lot of people were struck at the time of his passing when you spoke about him so warmly. Like, it went way beyond just player paying tribute to a manager he had worked under. I mean, it was very, very heartfelt and very sincere, and it's really not overstating things to say he has shaped your life in a massive way, shaped your career, especially in that settling in period.
Well, it was after the settling in period, to be honest, that he came to the fore in my life and career. There's two aspects of football management, I think. It's guiding players, educating players from a football perspective, and educating them from a life perspective. You know, a moral compass, if you like, a pathway to living a better life and giving your all and doing the right things. He was a very intelligent, caring man who decided, thankfully for me, to show great faith in me. And I suppose at the time, I didn't see it as well as the clarity came after, looking back and assessing with hindsight what he did for me and how important it was. Because I can say for sure that without him, I'd have still remained a professional player and probably a Premier League player because I had talent and ability. But he made me understand how to get the best of me and how to conduct myself properly, because I wasn't conducting myself properly. And he maintained consistency with me. He didn't just get me to a level and then leave me. He stayed with me, and he didn't have to show that level. You could argue that's his job, but he went well over and above what he had to do as a manager with me.
What would be an example of that, Danny?
Lots of examples of that. I mean, it's about, on numerous occasions there would be. I mean, one occasion I've talked about, which is some things were going on and a few little troubles and things happening away from the field, and unbelievable awareness from Gerard when he pulled me in one day, which wasn't that unusual to pull in and have a chat, say how well you're doing or talk about a game or whatever. But he said to me, you know, you okay? You all right? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And he said, well, you know, you haven't shaved for a week. You didn't say good morning twice this week. You've not trained the same. You're looking a bit scruffy. I'm here. Talk to me. Like, what can I do? What can we do? You know, so I opened up to him about a couple of things and just got the most brilliant, warm response, some help and some guidance with some issues. And I know other players have spoken about that too. And then following it up as well, you know, not just the one conversation, the attention to detail he would give. He would remember birthdays of your children. He would remember, you know, honestly, it wasn't, at the time, they don't seem like big things, but it just makes you feel part of it. It makes you feel wanted. It makes you feel like you want to run through brick walls for him. So, yeah, there was lots of examples. He was a special man.
Looking at your, say, when you really get going and get moving, 1990,000 season, just league appearances, say, to give people a sense of how things were going for you. 23 in 2000, 01 it was 27, 02 36 appearances, 03 36 appearances, player of the season actually in 03, 04 31 appearances. So he gets you in a really great place. Is he hands-on in terms of tactics and listen, go there, do that, do this? He seemed like he was, you know, very on top of that side of the game as well.
He wasn't hands-on as a coach, but he was always watching, and he was the one who dictated what he wanted his coaches to do.
Right.
He was a wonderful talker, the meetings, group meetings, motivating, but yes, very tactically aware. So the messages would come through the various coaches we had over the years of work ethic, communication, good shape, hard to beat, defensively sound. We'd work on positional play. You knew your job under Houllier.
Right.
And where he was really thorough was the opposition. no stone left unturned. Actually, to a degree, sometimes that annoyed the lads, because it's like, we're playing West Brom, Gaffer. Come on. But he was very tactically aware. I mean, the only tiny criticism from him tactically at times was that we did at times feel like we could have let the lead off a little bit. We were very defensive minded, but that is ultimately why we got our success. When you think back to the teams we beat to win the treble that year, with the quality of sides we come up against, we should never have been competing with, really. And that was to do with tactics. So he was, in answer to your question, he was tactically very, very good, but he wasn't a hands-on coach, no. He wasn't a hands-on, but he was there, always watching. He had a presence.
I mean, you're playing as well across this period with some legendary figures, aren't you, really? I mean, you mentioned Barnes, and there's McManaman there, and there's Fowler, and then you're into the Gerard era, and some kid called Michael Owen comes along and does pretty remarkable things. I mean, that's a lot of talent to be surrounded by. Give us a sense of who made the biggest impressions on you. I know it's unfair to pick out individuals, but you might give us a sense of playing with a Gerard or playing with an Owen.
Well, first and foremost, my first season there, where I was on the bench a lot and played a few games, it was McManaman and Fowler were the guys I was in awe of. Michael was flying, but Michael I hadn't watched as a fan and looked up to in the same way. Michael was kind of on my journey, just breaking in and setting the world alight. Michael was. I mean, he was phenomenal, but Michael was more. He felt more of a friend, whereas Robbie and Macca were idols to me. And what was amazing with the likes of Robbie and Macca is how integrated they made you feel, and to bring you on board with them. They became friends. Robbie especially, because Macca left, he went off to Madrid, as you know. But with Michael and Stevie, the journey we went on together, it wasn't like I ever sat back and thought, wow, I'm playing with Michael Owen or I'm playing with Stevie G. They were just Mo and Stevie. It was. They were my mates. They were the lads on the journey. We were on it together. It was only later when you look back on your career or when you've left that you think, wow, I miss playing with those two, for example, and Carragher as well. I mean, players like that you take for granted when you're playing with them. You could have a bad game and Michael will score a couple for you and win the game, and you get subbed after 80 minutes and you get a standing ovation because Michael's won the game for you, even if you've played badly. Stevie could drag you out of a hole, on his own. We've seen that many, many times. And Carragher was a brilliant influence on me because he was always behind me, and he was a brilliant talker, Carragher, even from a young age. So I never really looked at them maybe how others did, because they were with me on the journey and they were my mates.
Yes. I guess I'm sure Stephen Gerrard was your roommate, I think. So it's hard to be gazing across at the other bed saying, my God.
Yes, that's very true. And then, to be honest, at times, it would be the other way around. It would be, I'd be looking down on him, getting sick to death of whatever, he's staying up late watching some, whatever, The Office, or like, go to bed, will you? You've got a game tomorrow, Stevie was very grounded. He was just a young lad who enjoyed his football. He didn't understand what he was becoming in that moment. So I don't think he ever, at that time, we shared a room and spent so much time together on and off the pitch. I don't think he ever thought about what he was actually becoming.
Right.
Because he was a superstar.
Yeah, incredible. At that period, did the likes of a Carragher and Gerard, so we're talking 01, 02 into 03 and 04, did they start taking over the dressing room a bit then?
We did.
Who were Danny Murphy's lieutenants?
Well, there was me, Stevie, Carragher and Michael.
Yeah,
we're thick as thieves for a while. That was a solid four who we became more influential. But do you know what? We were learning as well, because we had the likes of Sami Hyypiä, Dietmar Hamann, Stefan Hancho, Gary Mack come into the fore, and they were teaching us. The reason we succeeded because we weren't egotistical young lads who thought we'd made it. We weren't thinking we were above our station. We weren't allowed to. But with the recruitment the club made and the players Houllier brought in, we found this lovely balance. And the balance was that we were hungry, determined and talented young players with this mix of very professional, talented senior boys who guided us, and they fed off our energy. So it was a really nice balance for a couple of years we had, and it really felt great to be part of it. But that was credit to the management.
Second in the league one year as well. I mean, you could be remembered as just a cup team, but like it was getting very serious there for a time.
We went fourth, third, second, and we were aiming to improve, and we were a bit sloppy actually. A couple of games I think back where we shouldn't have lost, and actually the focus, contrary to belief, was the league. You know, we weren't trying to be a cup team. Obviously, some of the mistakes were made in recruitment, which happens. You know, they took a risk on Juve instead of getting an Elka. I think that was pivotal. I think it's a regret that we didn't understand and realise at the time how close we were that year. We had it in us, and we didn't quite get over the line. But still proud to be part of that squad, even though we didn't quite win the league, because obviously we were coming up at the time against two wonderful sides, weren't we, in United and Arsenal. You have to give credit where credit's due. They were two phenomenal football teams.
Yeah.